What's going on, everybody? Canuck here. Welcome to episode 4, of course, Design 101 here for PGA Tour 2K23. And today we are going to be discussing tee boxes, how to lay them down, how to set different tees, and how to create some nice sight lines. Sight lines are important all around your course, but specifically important for the tee shot. So let's get right into it, and we're going to get right into how to create a tee box. So right now, as is, we just have one single, not flat red tee. So we want to create a course that has multiple tees to give people multiple options to play off of. For this example, we'll just create, maybe this hole will have 3 different tee boxes. So this will be a course with 3 different tees on it. So what we are going to do is, again, tee boxes come in many shapes and sizes. Some courses have giant swaths of short grass and put multiple sets of tees on. Others just have certain actual literal tee boxes, basically just boxes of short grass. So we're going to keep it simple, like I said, and I'm just going to show you how to create basically a simple shape of a tee box. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to look through the surfaces, and you might notice there's no tee box surface. Well, tee box is technically the same as fairway. So what you're going to be doing is you are going to be laying fairway down. We're going to select the fairway, and what I like to do, again, because we're doing just a basic shape, is I actually use the brush tool. And again, it really depends what shape you want. I kind of prefer the squares, but again, it's really depends on what kind of course you want. So these are very open to whatever you want to do. So I'm just going to lay down a few just square tee boxes to keep it easy. I'm going to try to line it up kind of right down the middle. You got to make a decision of where you want your first tee box to be. It says up in the top right, I got 426 yards to the green. We kind of planned that out at the beginning, that's roughly how long this hole would be. They're easy to delete and move and all that stuff, but this is a good starting point, I think. In terms of size, again, you don't want to make them too big, especially if you're only just going to put one tee box on them. I like to keep them pretty small. So we're just going to put one down there like that. Let's not worry too much about, what it's done here. So it's kind of auto flattened it a little bit. We'll fix that. What I'm going to do is right away, I'm just going to lay down 3 tee boxes. So I'm going to put one there. And maybe I'll just lay one down, maybe a longer one that might have the other 2 tees on it. So I'll put that right here. There we go. All right, so next what we're going to do is I'm going to do a little flattening. So we're going to get these tee boxes nice and flat. So we're going to head over to the landscaping tools. We're going to flatten, and well, I'm actually going to use this square brush to kind of help me out right off the bat. I'm going to raise it up a bit because I want the tee box just to be raised a little bit. There you go. Now we've got a nice flatter tee box. I'm going to do the same over here on the other side. I'm going to use the same shape that I used to make the shape of the tee box. Again, I like to pop it up a little bit, like a foot. Nothing too bad. And then kind of the area in between. Okay, so from the tee box all the way out to the fairway, this is really humpy and bumpy. This is going to be more of a flatter course, so we need to really smooth this out. So again, we're going to go to our fuzzy brush on the 4th page here. I'm going to make it fairly big, and we're just going to flatten this out a little bit. I dropped it down a couple inches, but not going to affect things too much. Don't worry if you go over your tee box again, because we'll just probably re-flatten it here shortly. But what I want to do is I just want to basically iron out all these wrinkles. Oh, just clicking along. Go. And, maybe I might create, maybe a smaller gully there. Maybe there might be some, planting there. I don't know. Actually, I don't really like that. That was a little bit too much. Select this. So maybe just kind of drop it down a little bit. And also, what I like to do, because this is more of a flatter tee box, I really want to think about sight lines. So we need to talk a little bit about blind tee shots. And before people jump at me saying, oh, well, obviously there's blind tee shots in real life, it adds to the strategy. I 100% agree. But there is a difference between purposeful blind tee shots and blind tee shots that are there because you don't know how to sculpt. And having just those random humps show up, 30 feet down, like, for example, I'll show you something I see all the time. It's people that forget to, kind of do that stuff in between their tee boxes, and then they're left with, actually, that's not terrible. Let's make it a little more extreme. Something like, they do that. That's not a good look, okay? Because when you play test that, you're not going to be able to see much over that hill. So you want to avoid things like that. But again, if they're well done, blind tee shots, for example, or partially covering part of the fairway, if you got a nicely planted, a nicely sculpted hill or something, that's great. That's great. But don't make blind tee shots just because you forgot to sculpt. All right. So that can be easy to do. So do not ignore that part between the tee boxes and the fairway. So we're just going to flatten these out again. Like that. Boom. All right. So now we need to talk about how to add different tees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to my cursor. And I'm going to select the hole 1 red tee. We can change the colors here in a second. But what we're just going to do is we're going to add a tee. And now we have a different color. And I'm going to move that up to, these will be my middle tees. And then I'm going to select it again, add tee, and then I'm going to add a third tee. I believe you can select up to 5 tees. I wish divots could be removed. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, they can't be. It's just kind of silly seeing divots on a long par 4, but it is what it is. All right, so if you want to change the color of the tees, you can change them here. All right, so like if I wanted the back tees to be black, say, there we go. Got black tees. And then maybe the middle tees will be white. And then the front tees could be red, for example. Other couple things you can do is you can change the tee markers as well. There's lots of different options. So lots of cool different shapes and things you can do. There's even some like stone ones. These look a little gaudy in my opinion, but hey, it's really whatever you want. I kind of like these. These are kind of nice, just like really simple ones. Lots of cool ones. So play and decide what you want to do with these, but yeah, you got lots of options when selecting tee box, or a tee blocks, I mean, I should say. So let's just go with these wood ones here. It's for fun. Okay, so essentially that's how to make a tee box really, really, really quickly. But before we leave, we need to talk a little bit about creating sightlines. Like I said, trying to avoid those blind tee shots. This is a blind, non-purposeful blind tee shots. We don't want a blind tee shot here. Okay, we want this to really open up quite nicely. And what I like to do is, unfortunately, if you're on console, you're unable to do this, but just to help me visualize something a little bit more, what I will do is I'm going to clear the UI here. So I'm going to hit F9 and F10, and what that does is that clears everything for me, which is really nice, and that gives me a bit more of a visual. Unfortunately, yes, you cannot do this on console, but it just kind of clears the clutter and lets me kind of see what I'm going to see. Right now, I think the sightline is pretty good. We were talking about having this little bit of camber kind of leading from the top of the fairway on the right here, kind of downwards. So also we want to, when we add in some bunkers, which we'll probably do in the next episode, we want to highlight those a little bit as well. But for right now, I kind of like where the tee boxes are sitting. We might just pop, what I like to do is maybe just pop the fairway up a little bit in spots. And again, this is just a little bit of fuzzy brush. Oops. Now, I'm thinking I probably should have done the bunker episode before the tee box episode, but we'll probably revisit this in the next episode as well. So we did talk about maybe water being here, so we'll look into that. And then just kind of flattening around our fairway as we're really starting to turn this from what was a very rough plot of land something a little bit more manicured. So, all right. So I feel like right now, right off the bat, that is a pretty good idea of a sightline. And what I like to do to test is I like to hit the play test option. We'll talk a little bit more about play testing in a future episode. But I'll just say play hole 1, so then I can get a real look of kind of what the golfer is going to see. And I'm fairly happy with that. I may lower this down maybe a little bit so I can see that other tee box. Well, actually, I'm not even on the right tee box. I was on my front tee box. Hold up. That's also important. We got to make sure we're selecting the right tee box when we play test. So I'm going to set it to black. There we go. And then we'll hit play hole 1. That's better. That's more what I'm looking for. So maybe I look, okay, I kind of want to see the top, the beginning of the fairway. So maybe I would raise this down a little bit. Again, really up to what you want to do, but just a few things that I like. So I will head over to landscaping. And again, actually, I'm going to use the raise tool. Head over to my fuzzy brush and maybe just drop this down. Maybe pop this part of the fairway up a little bit. Like that. As you notice, I'm not making really big edits in terms of height. Okay, it's all really, really minimal. So, and it takes playing around. This little raise sculpt tool, it's easy to figure out at the beginning, but it can be a little tricky to get the hang of. But there we go. I think that's pretty good. So tee boxes are, for the most part, created. We may do some minor sculpting in here near the end, but not something we need to worry about yet. So as you can see, the hole is coming together. I mean, we've got a green, we've got a fairway, we've got some tee boxes. In our next episode, we are going to look at how to create and sculpt bunkers. There's tons of different ways of doing that. We'll probably looking at adding a water hazard, and then we'll get into some planting, and essentially we'll have our first hole done. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the episodes, and again, let me know what you think in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.